Coming to you remotely from LA River Studios in Los Angeles, California, this is The River Report.
Hello and welcome to The River Report. I'm your host, Michael Atkins, Senior Communications and Impact Manager with Friends of the LA River, here to keep you current with the river movement. You've been enjoying the second weekend of our Return to the River, the first of its kind variety show shot on the LA River and throughout its watershed. Since many voters in LA County are starting to receive their mail-in ballots, or at least their official information voter guide, today's River Report is a special election edition. So stay tuned for river-approved resources and voter guides. We're honored to welcome everyone's favorite Congressman, Adam Schiff, on today's program for an interview to discuss his vision for the Middle River and what we should anticipate for future federal funding behind river rewilding. Today's segment is generously sponsored by Postmates and Linear City Development. A special thank you to these partners for supporting our nonprofit in uncertain times and for making the River Report possible. Before we get out the vote, a short review of the Mid-River programs. Continuing in our effort to bring viewers direct connection to the dispossessed Indigenous voices of our watershed, we are proud to bring you the second edition of Native Narratives, featuring members of the Tongva tribe passing down tradition from one generation to the next. In case you missed it, check it out. It's a full piece that's heartwarming, informative, and truly an honor on our parts to bring these stories of tradition to you. This coming Monday is Indigenous Peoples Day in Los Angeles. Share this segment on the Tongva, or last week's segment featuring the Fernandinho Tataviam Band of Mission Indians, or better yet, send a letter to your congressman imploring them to recognize the Tataviam for federal recognition. Due to the rich ecology of the Middle River, our on-staff educator Ileana met up with our friends in Mujeres de la Tierra to launch a BioBlitz in iNaturalist right here on the river throughout all of October. More instructions are in the segment, but download iNaturalist app, join our project by searching LA River BioBlitz 2020, and get out there, tagging nature in our backyard. Community scientists like you help enrich our understanding of our urban ecosystem. This BioBlitz runs through October 31st, 2020. Last week, we learned that the endangered bird species, the least Bell's vireo, has suffered habitat loss in Sepulveda Basin. This week's Finding Feathered Friends, Liliana welcomed guests from California State Parks and Audubon Center at Debs Park in search of least Bell's vireo habitat in the Middle River at Rio de Los Angeles State Park. This existing open space is a crucial part of a broader 100-acre vision to one day bring a world-class park to the heart of the city. It's an incredible honor to welcome this week's guest, a man who needs no introduction to the River Report. Congressman Adam Schiff has been one of the most visible members of Congress. But before he became a hero to all of us through his chairmanship of the House Intelligence Committee, he has long been a champion for the environment and held a soft spot for the LA River. Take a look at what he had to share with us. Congressman Schiff, thank you so much for being here with Friends of the LA River.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for all the great work you do.
Thank you. I know that you've been a longtime fan and supporter of the LA River, so I wanted to start off with just some generic questions so you could share that love with our viewers. So first off, I'm asking this of everyone. What's your favorite LA River animal? Do you have one?
Probably the great blue herons. They're so majestic. You can see them even when you're driving down the freeway. They're just so statuesque. So I would probably have to say the heron.
There's a reason why they're one of the symbols and visible on all of the freeway signs. One other thought, just because we also want to promote different activities you can take to enjoy the river. What are some activities that you've partaked in on the river, and do you have a favorite?
I've gone walking, running, biking, even kayaking in the river. And I have to say the kayaking was probably the most memorable, but probably would say running is maybe my favorite pastime along the river.
Excellent. We'd love to see that and encourage that. I wanted to ask you a few other questions now, getting into the real nitty gritty here. But first off, you've been a longtime supporter. I want to make certain to make space for this, of the Rim of the Valley. And I wanted to give you the opportunity to define that program and share with us any updates in that endeavor.
Back in the 1970s, Congress had the foresight to know that the population of LA was going to grow dramatically. And if we were to preserve the wildlife and open space in the region that so many were drawn to, that we needed to take steps to do that. And the Santa Monica Mountains Recreation Area was formed. Well, over time, of course, LA did grow. It has become one of the most utilized parks in the country. But we are now at risk of losing some of that great open space and wildlife as wildlife corridors are encroached upon as ecosystems are put under strain. And so I introduced a bill to study how we should expand the park, and ultimately a bill to double the size of the park. So this would bring those areas comprising the rim of the valley, including the Verdugos and part of the San Gabriels, the Santa Susanas, the San Rafael Hills, into that recreation area to allow the use of federal resources to help with trail maintenance and maintenance of ecosystems, recreational opportunities, and just make sure that that beautiful open space and wildlife is there for future generations.
Obviously, as river advocates, the mountains are an important feature of our watershed that feed into our rivers and water quality. I saw you in the before time. I saw you speak at the National Parks Association gala, again, maybe 2 years ago. And what struck me was the amount of time it's taken to move forward on the rim of the valley. And your message was one of persistence. What lessons maybe can you share with us about, and river stewards specifically, about how long it takes sometimes to make something that benefits the public, something that's an actuality and reality?
You know, we really do have to take the long view of this. I introduced the bill to study expanding the park back in the Bush administration, so almost 20 years ago. There was a backlog of studies, though, so then we needed to get the study funded. And we worked for years to get it funded under the Obama administration, and it was, and then it had to be conducted. And, that takes years of getting public comment and putting out different proposals. And the public comment was just overwhelmingly in support of the broadest expansion of the park. And now we've introduced the subsequent legislation to make it so. It has passed the House now twice this session. But we need to get it through the GOP Senate. And we're struggling to get it done in the weeks remaining in the session, so we don't have to start over again with the implementing legislation next year. But that's what it takes. Anything worth doing is going to be difficult. And of course, the restoration of the LA River is a decades-long process. If you took a snapshot of the LA River now, it looks dramatically different than it did before. If you take a picture of the LA River 10 years from now, it will look dramatically different than it does today. But we need to know and realize that real progress is being made.
Certainly, these things, they do take a very long time and persistence in multiple generations. One thing that's a more recent development is about just 3 years ago, the city of LA acquired the G2 parcel. And honestly, just earlier this summer, the 100-acre partnership was announced, bringing together state parks, MRCA, the city of LA. And I just wanted to, first off, the goal is to deliver a world-class park that has recreation and ecological restoration in that stretch south of the 2 and north of Figueroa. And I just wanted to hear from you if you had any thoughts on that, and even just more generally, what's your vision of the future of the Middle River?
I do have some thoughts on it. Of course, it'll be the community's thoughts that matter the most, but I would say a few things. Certainly, obviously, ecological restoration is a primary objective. But I also think it would be nice to retain some of the historic character to, the fact that this was a rail-focused facility. In the same way that New York so beautifully made the High Line a really interesting and innovative park. So something that's a nod to its history. But I'd also like to see an educational component where, maybe in the landscaping architecture of a portion of the park, there's room for outdoor classes. I think that one of the wonderful things about the LA River and the fact that it runs through our city is it brings open space to people's doors. And it brings open space to a lot of communities that are very park poor. And we want to make sure to introduce more people to the outdoors.
Of course, we have brought so many students to the river who've asked questions that are honestly jarring, like, can I bring my parents? How much does it cost to come to the river? So really bringing people into an educational setting outdoors and on the river can have massive impacts. Just rounding us out here, I just wanted to also thank you for your leadership on the Green New Deal. How do you suspect parts of the Green New Deal will relate to the LA River down the line, and more broadly to the city of LA?
I would say in a couple ways. A Green New Deal would bring investment in the work that we're talking about. It's obviously been a continuing struggle to get the funding to do the restoration of the LA River. It's not inexpensive, and the federal government needs to be a big partner in that. The Green New Deal signifies a massive investment in our environment, in a green future, and in the workforce to make it so. So I think it would bring new jobs to our area in helping to do this restoration work, new resources to our area to accelerate the timetable of the restoration of the LA River. And it would be, I think, overwhelmingly positive for the country, but it would also greatly contribute to, I think, the speed and the resourcing of our work and all the efforts of FoLAR.
Thank you. Yeah, we certainly, it would be a great, tone shift into a green new decade is how I've been kind of thinking of it, at least personally.
I like that.
All right, you heard it here first. I'm just going to round us out here. I'd be remiss in overlooking this program will be airing on the 10th of October. Many folks in LA should be getting their ballots, I think, starting on the 6th of October. So I just wanted to also offer to you an opportunity to implore our viewers to get out there and vote. What message would you have for them?
Well, it is often said in the run-up to an election that it's the most important election in our lifetimes, but this time it's inarguably the case. There will be no more important election than this one. There is so much riding on it in terms of our environment and dealing with the existential crisis of climate change. The remedy to an administration that threatens not to accept a peaceful transition of power is to so overwhelm the polls with turnout, to have such a commanding result that it cannot be questioned. And that's what we have to strive for, is overwhelming turnout. Every eligible voter getting out, doing their civic duty, and making sure that we preserve our planet and our environment, but that we also preserve our cherished democracy and our legacy.
Congressman, I want to thank you again for being a part of FoLAR's Return to the River program and for taking the time with us.
My pleasure. Thank you again.
And go Team River. As Congressman Schiff notes, with so much riding on it, we must get everyone we know to vote, to make the results unquestionable and to enable a green new decade. We likely have our minds settled on some of the big races on the ballot, but here in California, it can get kind of tricky. We've got 12 statewide propositions to consider, a countywide measure to reimagine spending priorities more justly, and a very high-profile citywide election for district attorney. Right here in the Middle River, residents of Council District 4 will choose between David Ryu and Nithya Raman to represent them in City Hall. As a nonprofit, we are prohibited from endorsing individual candidates. However, we always strive to raise the awareness for the LA River among elected officials and candidates. So before the March primary, both candidates for CD4 filled out our river questionnaire. You can read their thoughts on the environment in the LA River on our blog. There are many, many great resources out there to help you make an informed set of votes on your ballot. So here's a few that we'll be sharing on social media. For the environment, turn to Sierra Club for congressional candidates and the LA League of Conservation Voters to measure local candidates. Supporting active lifestyles and multimodal transportation is crucial to meeting our challenge to lead on climate change. So check out Bike the Vote and Active SGV for great guides. And for an overall progressive guide that touches on racial justice, housing affordability, and clean, healthy environments, don't miss LA Forward. You can return your ballot in one of three ways. First, via mail at no cost, postmarked by Election Day. Secondly, at one of the 400 secure drop boxes throughout the county. Or third, at a voting center starting October 24th. Locations for drop boxes and voting centers can be found online, so make a plan today and be sure your vote is counted in this crucial election. If you enjoyed today's program, learned something, or laughed, we kindly ask for your support. Support FoLAR by donating at folar.org/donate now, or better yet, join us October 23rd when we host our annual Noche del Rio Gala. Our gala will be online for a paid ticketed audience and will feature creative cameos from local artists and FoLAR staff. Premium ticket holders will enjoy a kit of fine goods delivered to their door to enjoy during the program, while at only $10, general admission ticket holders will receive our digital swag bag. A great roster of local businesses have stepped up to bring promo codes and discounts to our attendees. They include 10% off your order of beers or frog claws from our dear friends at Frogtown Brewery, discounted rides from e-scooter company Spin, and 20% off your first order of delicious Mediterranean cuisine when you order Spitz through the app. Those discounts make it so the ticket practically pays for itself. Noche del Rio is nonetheless a great chance to support FoLAR and our work. Learn more online at folar.org/Noche del Rio. Well, that's it for me. Tune in on Thursday evening for the next edition of River Trivia. Our teammate and resident puzzle master Marissa Bates will be leading you live through some trivia twists and turns to test your river knowledge. Fret not, if you've been watching Return to the River, you know exactly what will be on the quiz. Prizes and bragging rights are on the line. This has been Michael Atkins with your River Report for October 10th. The Riverlution will be televised. Bye for now. Have I reached the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office? I'd like to file a mark for a green new decade. I'm concerned that a local office holder might be holding it against me. Yeah. When do I need to register this by? Okay, I need to send a physical letter in. Okay, and post office. Oh, well, that would be completely wrong. I have proof that we've been using it since before then. Great. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. That's it for me, thank you.